The public sector is being cut and the dust is settling and people are realizing that MarkCarney isn't all that. Welcome back to the Freedom Pines podcast. I'm your host, Jamie B. This is where we debrief and discuss politics, pop culture, and internet culture from an independent perspective. So if that interests you, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and let's get into the video, shall we? So, as you guys know, a part of the reason I started my YouTube is because of the cost of living in Canada, and you don't get paid on TikTok to produce content. So once my TikTok was taken down for misinformation, me talking about my own body and things that hurt me when I took them, if you know what I mean, I decided, you know what, I put all this effort into these videos. I'm definitely going to start a YouTube channel, and I have been working since last December to get my numbers up, and they seem to be going up a little bit, and I actually showed up in my own For You page today, so I'm very happy and very thankful for you guys. But I'm here because I just keep getting continuously scammed by Canada, by our regulations, or I guess lack thereof, or lack of considering crime and criminals. And, you know, I was stolen $4,000. I was a photographer after, not being able to work at my job anymore because I got 2 of these things, and my health has never been the same. So, trying to pick myself back up per usual. When we moved up north, I had a photography business going, and then I got scammed $4,000 from what I thought was an 80-year-old woman, but turned out to be a brand new Canadian. And the cops wanted to help me until they figured out who it was. But I also will say that my friend also scammed me out of paying me for my services that I took at her birth. Okay, I took photography at her birth. And she was able to call the cops too and be like, can you get her to stop harassing me? I'm not paying her. And then the cop was like, well, she's not paying you. In what country other than Canada can you rip off your friends like that and be able to call the cops on them for... I know not to get myself in trouble, so I sent a couple of emails. Anyways, here I am. So that is why I'm a little bitter. But then, after locking us in our house, taking away daycare, taking away school, taking away all of our supports, telling my grandparents that they weren't allowed to watch our children because, the thing was so dangerous that it might put them at risk. And yes, my grandparents called public health to ask if they could watch our children for us so we could work, both have a job. We ended up taking benefits because my husband thought he was applying for EI and ended up getting caretaker benefits. Turns out, even though we asked what ones we were supposed to take, we took the wrong ones, and there's nothing we can do about it. And now they say that we owe $22,000, despite 3 years ago them taking $6,000 off of our taxes and saying that was because we overpaid you during COVID. Okay, whatever, we're done with it. 2 years later, they do an audit, say, oh, you never paid that back. We never took that out of there. And there's no talking to people. Yeah, when we call to get this $22,000 bill, because not only are they charging us back for the caretaker fees, the money that we thought, my husband paid into off of his paycheck, but they added interest. So now it's $22,000. Sorry, we're down to 18 because they took a bunch off of our taxes, which next year, will they pretend that we didn't? Who knows? Let's stay tuned to find out. So yeah, that is dealing with the CRA. There is nobody. We have submitted our documents proving, here's the email where you guys told us what to take. Here is the proof that my wife was working not only just from home, because it was so on and off because of lockdowns and stuff like that, that sometimes I'd be working online, like if we had an outbreak at the school, and then sometimes I would be in the schools working with kids with disabilities because those were the only kids back, and that was my job. So we proved all of that. Not good enough, because here's the thing. Hey, there is nothing stopping you guys. I know you're all getting fired. There's nothing stopping you guys from going through everyone's file and just getting rid of are things that aren't real in the first place, by the way. I don't know, this loyalty to the government where they just decided to bring Canadians through the ringer for doing what we were supposed to do, which was stay at home, don't work. We're taking away, and I had kids. There was nothing we could do. There was no daycares open. The schools were not open. There was nothing we could do. Because people are like, well, why didn't you just work? I did work. My husband stayed home because I was the one with the pension. And that was when I realized, what am I doing? Why am I here taking care of other people's children with a place that allows abuse to happen? And I'm just watching my own children's education go out the window because they keep going online and offline. Anyways, that's why I'm here. Okay, a big reason other than my health is that. By the way, it was because I was so unbelievably brainwashed by the left that my job defined me. And if I didn't have a job, I'd be nothing. If I was a stay-at-home mom, I'd be nothing. All of those different things. Okay, that's why I saw myself like that. And it took me a long time to not be liberal anymore or leftist. And it took me a long time to, and a lot of different things had to happen for me to realize how incredibly wrong I was and how much we were lied to over the years and what has gone into scaring us, lying to us and trying to convince us. And I'll never forget the first time it happened was when we went to a PD day. I happened to be getting the behavior training that day, but my friends went or I don't remember how it went, but either way, we heard a speech about how we should just let the homeless take from us because they might need it more than us. And that is essentially how everything has been ran into the ground, okay? And it's really hard on the left to convince them because they think that everything is so black and white. They think that because healthcare is more of a provincial issue, that there's not things at the federal level that could ever, it really bothers me, ever impact the healthcare system. But the reason and excuses that they used to lock us in our homes was that we were going to put too much of a pressure on the healthcare system, but that doesn't apply when we're talking about new Canadians, does it? No. We don't have the resources, and we know we don't, but we continuously let people in. And that's obviously going to affect our healthcare. And yes, I know that the provinces have some stuff to do with immigration, but overall, that is a federal thing, okay? They do not see that. They genuinely do. There's two groups of people right now. There's the NDP left online who understand that Carney is a billionaire and that he's corrupt and all of these different things. And then there is the left who are telling themselves that they did a good job and patting themselves on the back and basically excusing everything Carney is doing. But a lot of them over here, used to be NDP, and I see them slowly going over and admitting they were wrong, admitting he's a millionaire, admitting that he's only working for the best interest of, Brookfield and all of his investment buddies, because there is a real sense of people over here on the left who are liberal, who think MarkCarney is God's gift to this earth, and it's very strange, okay? But on a more real side, the people who are over here on the left, on the NDP, are starting to realize how duped they were, I guess. And it's a lot more going to the NDP over and over. Videos I see almost every single day, especially after the airline situation and capitulating to Trump. That is, you cannot run and brainwash people into thinking Trump is this huge problem and think that you're the one to deal with it and then not deal with it. Sometimes people are going to break the spell. Sometimes the cognitive dissonance is going to break, and we're seeing that more and more. Thank goodness. And I think that these shifts of MarkCarney being untrusted by the left, we're seeing the most with the cut to women's equality, which is, first of all, crazy because since liberals have been in and the bail system being the way that it is, we have seen a literal femicide develop in Canada. So what was that money going towards? Would anybody love to tell me what the funding for women equality, where did that go? Where did that go? I have no problem with it being cut because I had access to way more as a woman, especially a single mom during Harper, than I ever did during the Liberals. And the cutting of public services, which, by the way, let's ask the question, how do you believe in socialism so much, but even our government entities have unions? Could that be because of what? Oh, because the government doesn't know how to run everything. So leaving them in charge of everything would be disastrous. Yeah. And then this Air Canada thing really bothered them. And, you know, I understand why. But at the same time, I'm like, they did this before the election and you guys still forgave them and voted them in. I will never forget how the left cheers on Luigi Mangione, and especially in Canada, and then turns around and votes for the person that would have, you know, could have been victim to him. It will forever astound me as someone who just looks at things objectively. It was kind of when I realized that Canada might be under a psyop, or continues to be, because Elbows Up is, first of all, a dirty move in hockey to begin with. So I'm not sure why building an entire brand for an election on Elbows Up was such a great idea, but I think finally, and tell me if you guys are seeing this too, I'm finally seeing the left finally call out MarkCarney. And it is a beautiful day. It is only August, and that's how long it took. And now we have him for God knows how long, okay? Pierre is deeply in these, they always say Trudeau lives rent-free in my mind. Trudeau pays a lot of rent, okay? He's charges a lot of rent to live in there, okay? Charged. Same with MarkCarney. PierrePoilievre has no impact on your lives whatsoever. Before, they couldn't even get a bill passed. So they're so afraid of him for what? For what? I'm telling you guys, PierrePoilievre is a pretty center-leaning person when it comes. He's just common sense. He has common sense. And it's a beautiful thing to see when people have been defending a system, which, by the way, I will say there are people now that I am seeing who say self-defense isn't a reason to get away with murder. So you can't go and murder people and call it self-defense. Yeah, I would like to be able to defend myself. And like I said, fight or flight, you guys should know about that because you're so smart and educated, right? So what do you guys think? Here's the thing too, is that do I want the services cut, or do I also know that the government is so inept that what's the point anyways? Unless it's the conservatives in there, do I even have hope for the things that I quote would not want to be cut? Like, I want to get my passport. I would like someone who is real to talk to at the CRA to figure out why we all of a sudden owe $22,000. So I know not everybody's gone through this. You let me know. Have you guys been stolen from, or had a friend stolen from, or know a small business? Because as soon as I went on TikTok and shared my story, I could not believe how many Canadians have been subjected to crime like that. Also, before I go, I have to tell you guys, there is an AI commercial of MarkCarney, and of course there is, because these things have developed so much in the past however many months, and we haven't even been in Parliament to make a law about, you know, people using politicians' likeness and AI to scam Canadians. It was on my daughter's thing. It was on my daughter's TV, and she called me up and she showed me that MarkCarney was on her TV. It started talking British for a little bit there. But I went to go take a video of it, and someone told me that if I had accidentally opened the link from the QR code, that it would have hacked my whole phone. So if you guys could get back to work, that would be great. So, you know, maybe less Canadians could stop being scammed by everywhere and everyone that they see. That would be great, wouldn't it? Let's bring back the Canada where you didn't steal from people or scam them. How about that? How about we bring back an honest country? So that is the end of my video. I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Have a good one. And don't forget to tell me, Have you been scammed? Have you known anybody who's been scammed? Let me know.